Business is not a family. It is not a dream. Business is war. Only the weapons are email threads, board minutes, and bank alerts. The day I realized that, my phone chimed with that familiar bank notification tone. For a second, the world stopped. The air felt thicker. A cold, focused rage slid into place where panic should have been. On the screen, a transfer I had never approved tied to my credentials. That was the moment I understood. My co-founder wasn't just stealing, he was framing me, using forged approvals, routing money through shells, building a case that I was the embezzler. I made a decision. I would not run, I would not beg, and I would not panic. I would execute a counter-strategy. Because here's the problem no one teaches you in founder school. How do you prove you didn't steal the money when every piece of evidence says you did? I co-founded a fintech startup built on one promise: clean money. Our entire brand was trust, real-time reconciliation, transparent ledgers, no creative accounting. I personally designed our internal controls: dual approvals for payouts, segregated duties, multi-factor authentication on every admin account, immutable audit trails. Our books were so clean, our auditors joked they could eat off them. And then there was my partner. To the outside world, he was the visionary, charismatic on stage, charming with investors, always pitching the legacy we'd leave behind. But behind the scenes, undisciplined with money, champagne optimism with beer math. He loved the sizzle more than the steak, and absolutely hated the word no. So I became the no. No, we can't expense that. No, we can't backdate this. No, we can't move investor cash into a side vehicle. It was a good cop, bad cop dynamic, until one late night, the mask slipped. It started with a vendor call. A supplier we'd used before rang my direct line frustrated. "Hey, just checking. Why did we get the same payment instruction twice? Same invoice, new account number. Your guy said it was urgent." My stomach tightened. Same invoice, different account, my guy. I pulled up our system. The invoice was there, correctly logged, correctly approved, payment status, pending. But then I saw else. Another entry, same invoice number, same amount, routed to a different bank account under a name I didn't recognize. A generic-sounding LLC I'd never seen on our master vendor list. At first glance, it looked like a simple duplication error. But errors don't hide. This one was buried. The second invoice got routed through a back-channel approval path, a fast-track vendor lane we only used in emergencies. And somehow, my credentials appeared as the authorizing officer. That's when my routine kicked in. Every week, I run my own private audit trail checks. I look at MFA logs, which devices authenticated, from where, at what time. I look for e-signature timestamps, when I signed and on what IP. I look for patterns. I know my habits. I don't approve payouts at 2:17 a.m. from a tablet. I don't log in from unknown IP blocks. I don't sign contracts while flying. That night, the pattern was broken. The system claimed I had e-signed that duplicate invoice while I was on a red-eye flight, somewhere over the Atlantic. Timestamps were precise down to the second. There was just one problem. At that exact time, my phone was in airplane mode. My laptop was powered off in the overhead compartment, and I had the airline Wi-Fi receipt in my email showing it was never activated. In other words, my signature had been applied when it was physically impossible for me to have done it. It wasn't a glitch. It was forgery. The obvious move would have been to storm into my partner's office the next morning, slam a printout on his desk, and demand an explanation. I didn't. I didn't even hesitate. When you see one crack in a system this tight, you're not looking at the impact point. You're seeing the echo. Someone had rehearsed this, tested it, refined it. So instead of confrontation, I chose surveillance. I initiated a quiet internal audit off the normal channels. I locked down my personal authorizations, rotated my keys, and set alerts on any transaction bearing my signature. On paper, business continued as usual. In reality, the war had started. Step 1. Follow the access. I pulled the raw server access logs, not the nice summarized dashboards, but the ugly time-stamped machine-level logs that only ops and auditors ever see. Buried in the noise was a pattern. An admin token, one that should have required my direct hardware key, was being used at unusual hours, low traffic windows, just before dawn, just after midnight. Not from our office, not from my home, from an IP address I recognized, my partner's lake house. He called it his thinking place. Investors knew it from Instagram, the dock, the whiskey, the sunsets, the hustle never sleeps captions. Apparently, his admin sessions didn't sleep either. Every suspicious transaction, every forged approval in my name, every urgent vendor payout hit the system from that same IP block, same device fingerprint, same geolocation. Then came the emergency accounts. I found them by following the discrepancies in our reconciliation reports. Tiny timing differences, funds that left one account and took just a little too long to arrive where they were supposed to. In fintech, time is a trail. I uncovered an off-books clearing account, never disclosed to the board, never documented in our official banking dossiers. It wasn't directly in our name. It sat behind another shell labeled as a services intermediary. From there, the money spiderwebbed through vendor shells. First from our operating account to vendor A, then from vendor A to vendor B, and back into the so-called clearing account. Same amounts, minus a thin transactional fee. On the surface, noise. In the ledger, laundered. Worse, there was a mirrored payroll shell, an entity with a nearly identical name to our real payroll processor. One letter off, close enough that a tired human might not notice. But the system noticed. The account numbers were different. Each route bent the same way, siphon value out of the business, reroute it through shells, and then park it in an emergency account that existed in the shadows of our infrastructure. And in every chain, there I was, my approvals, my signatures, my supposed authorizations. So I went hunting for intent. Deep in his calendar, shared with his personal email but hidden from the shared company views, I found it, a recurring event twice a week. Title, Board Prep, Narrative. I opened one of the invites. In the meeting description, he had written bullet points. Update. Financial irregularities traced to my name. Story. Concerned co-founder discovers discrepancies. Ask. Immediate removal for cause. Vesting cancellation. He was literally rehearsing my downfall. I felt the rage, but it wasn't hot. It was surgical, focused. This wasn't simple greed. This was design. Here's the thing about framing someone. It's not brute force. It's a magician's force. You don't just show the audience a card, you make them feel like they picked it. He was engineering a future board meeting where the only logical conclusion, the only card the board could choose was, I had orchestrated an embezzlement scheme. And the motive? That was the neatest part of his trick. We had a term sheet on the table, a major investor. If we closed it, we'd scale fast, but control would tighten. The term sheet had a clause. If one founder was removed for cause, their unvested equity could be clawed back and redistributed. Control would tilt toward the remaining founder. If I went out under suspicion of fraud, he kept control. He kept the equity. He kept the legacy. He wasn't just stealing money, he was stealing the story. So I made a decision. No HR, no gentle confrontation, no warning. You don't tell the magician you know the trick before the reveal. You let him commit to the illusion. I started documenting everything. Screen recordings, chain of custody notes, independent backups. Every log I touched, I hashed and timestamped. Every finding I shared went through outside counsel first. I felt that same cold rage settle again, but now it had direction. The plan was simple and ruthless. I wouldn't just stop his pipeline, I would turn it into a confession he couldn't see coming. If you're going to turn a trap inside out, you don't do it recklessly, you do it lawfully. With our counsel, we created what we called a forensic escrow account, a special board-sanctioned account held under the control of outside counsel and flagged for law enforcement cooperation if needed. This was not a secret slush fund. It was documented, papered, voted on in a closed-door session without him present, under the pretext of strengthening our fraud controls. Minutes were kept, resolutions were signed, the auditors were looped in. Then came the mirror.
His scheme depended on a set of routing numbers and account details tied to those emergency and shell accounts, so under counsel supervision, we created a lawful mirror, an account with an identical alias but a different underlying beneficiary, our forensic escrow. Think of it like changing the address on a letter without changing the envelope. Any transaction trying to hit his hidden pipeline would, from that point forward, land in escrow instead. No money disappeared. No investor funds were at risk. We didn't initiate a single transaction ourselves. We only adjusted where his next withdrawals would be allowed to land. While legal put those guardrails in place, I prepared the sting on the access side. I worked with IT to enroll a hardware MFA key tied to a decoy admin profile, one that looked like it had elevated rights but was, in reality, a highly monitored, sandboxed environment. We gave that decoy just enough privileges to be attractive. To him, it would look like I had gotten sloppy and overpowered an internal account. In reality, everything he touched there was logged in excruciating detail. Every keystroke, every IP, every timing nuance. Then I armored the paper trail. I drafted a notarized memo detailing the irregularities I had found, the exact dates, the IP addresses, and the accounts involved. Our counsel countersigned. We sent it via secure email and archived it. We retained an external audit firm with a narrow mandate: validate the configuration and governance of the forensic escrow and the logging infrastructure. Their engagement letter was time-stamped. Their working papers were sealed. The point of all this wasn't drama, it was chain of custody. If you're going to walk into a boardroom and accuse your co-founder of using you as a scapegoat in a financial crime, you don't show up with screenshots. You show up with a courtroom-ready file. In the middle of this quiet war, we still had to play the parts of co-founders. We had lunch. He picked the expensive place, as always. Wagyu, truffle fries, artisan water that tasted like regular water. He smiled across the table, relaxed. "You've been cleaning up inefficiencies," he said. "You'll see the margins improve. Sometimes you just have to do the hard things founders aren't willing to do." I watched him talk about hard things while he ate steak paid for by the company card he was trying to blame me for abusing. I nodded, asked questions, encouraged him to elaborate. I mean, if something goes sideways, someone has to be the adult in the room, right? Someone has to protect the company's reputation. I logged every word in my memory. Later, I logged it in a memo. Meanwhile, we set the trigger. Before the upcoming board meeting, I announced a financial blackout, a scheduled short window where non-essential financial operations would be frozen for a system upgrade and pre-board cleanup. In reality, it was a pressure test. Someone siphoning funds can't resist a good exit ramp before scrutiny. We configured automated ledger snapshots to run hourly. Every transaction hitting those mirrored routes would be captured in real time, immutably. My expectation, he'd push just before or during the blackout, last-minute emergency payments, time-sensitive vendors. He did something I didn't expect. He accelerated. The volume of suspicious attempts spiked, multiple urgent vendor payouts queued up, all pointing, unknowingly for him, straight into our forensic escrow. So we adapted. We tightened the snapshot interval, automated exports every 30 minutes, then every 15. By the time board week arrived, the pattern was undeniable. He wasn't testing the system, he was committing. I woke up that morning, put on my suit, and felt something strange. I wasn't nervous. I wore my calm like a tailored suit, because I knew when he launched his attack, he'd be stepping directly into the trap he designed for me. He just didn't know the stage had been rebuilt. Board meetings are theater. Everyone pretends it's about numbers, but it's really about narrative. Who controls the story? He arrived early, confident. Expensive watch, perfect hair, the right amount of concern on his face. As the meeting started, he waited. We walked through product updates, customer growth, regulatory changes. Then he cleared his throat. "If I may," he said, "there's a serious issue we need to address regarding financial controls and my name." There it was. He plugged in his laptop, the screen lit up with a polished slideshow.
Financial Irregularities Overview. Missing Funds 3-month snapshot. My name, my title, and a red banner. Access origin. He walked them through doctored approvals that appeared to show me authorizing transfers to unknown vendors, unvetted shells, and off-books accounts. My e-signatures, my credentials, the works. The board members leaned in. This was the show they didn't know they had paid for. I watched quietly, letting him enjoy his performance. When he finished, there was a moment of heavy silence. He looked at the chair. Given the severity, I believe we have to consider immediate removal for cause. We can't risk regulatory exposure. The chair turned to me. Do you have anything to say? Yes, I said, but I'd like to do it live. Can we get IT to give us direct access to the ledger right now? No slides, just the system. He hesitated. Is that necessary? I smiled. Very. IT dialed in. We projected the live environment. I walked them through our core ledger and then navigated calmly to the transactions he had just shown on his slides. Let's trace one, I said. This missing payment to vendor A. I opened the transaction, followed the route, and then opened the destination account. First reveal. Here, I said, highlighting the beneficiary details, is where the money actually sits. On the screen, they could see it. The funds weren't lost. They had landed in the forensic escrow account, an account controlled by outside counsel and disclosed in sealed board minutes weeks earlier. This account, I continued, was created under legal guidance to monitor and capture any unauthorized attempts to move funds using my credentials. I clicked through to the audit trail. Every hit on that routing path, every vendor pull, every shell transfer, all ending in escrow. It appears, I said, that someone targeting our systems believed they were siphoning money into a private emergency account. In reality, every attempt landed here. He shifted in his chair. Second reveal. Now, I said, let's look at access. We pulled the access logs. Time-stamped, device fingerprinted, tied to geolocation data. For each of these transactions where my credentials were supposedly used, I said, we have two relevant data points, where my authenticated devices actually were and where the transactions originated. I showed him my device history, geofenced at my home, the office, or in one key case, at 30,000 feet on a flight. Then I pointed to the origin IPs for the suspicious activity. Every one of them traced back to his lake house. Same IP range, same device fingerprint, same MAC address signature, repeatedly. He opened his mouth to object, but I cut in gently. One more thing, I said, about those vendors. I projected a list of shell entities, vendor A, vendor B, the mirrored payroll shell. Then I played short audio clips, one by one, calls legally recorded with vendor consent, confirming who had onboarded them, who had provided wiring instructions, who had identified themselves as acting on behalf of the company. His name, his email, his direct instructions. My supposed approvals were the after-the-fact dressing on transactions he had initiated. He tried to pivot to outrage. This is ridiculous. Anyone could spoof an IP. This is a setup. He's flipping this on me. Pattern interrupt. IT, I said, can you pull up the calendar logs? On the screen appeared his private calendar entries, obtained via legal preservation request. Board prep, narrative. I opened one. Bullets. Frame my name as bad actor. Propose removal for cause. Explain how I discovered it. The room went very, very quiet. His eyes moved slowly from the screen to me, then to the board. For the first time, I saw it. The realization that this wasn't a boardroom anymore. It was a courtroom with better coffee. I closed my laptop gently and slid a thick envelope across the table to the chair. In this packet, I said, you'll find notarized memos, third-party auditor statements, and counsel correspondence documenting every step we've taken since discovering the pattern. All time-stamped, all independently verifiable. The chair looked at him. We will be adjourning this meeting briefly. Our compliance officer will be joining us, and we will be making a call, not to HR, to law enforcement. You don't see the justice system on YouTube thumbnails very often. It's not glamorous, it's slow, procedural, and very, very specific about details. But that day, it moved fast, because our counsel hadn't waited until the drama. They had already filed a confidential complaint, paired with the forensic escrow documentation and external audit confirmations. When the police walked into our office, they didn't come wandering in with questions. They came with a warrant. They asked for him by name. He tried to flip the script one more time. This is absurd. We're in the middle of a board meeting. You're basing this on fabricated evidence. He's been manipulating the systems for weeks. This is retaliation. I stayed seated. I slid another folder across the table, this one thinner.
Inside, the notarized chain of custody documents, logs of when the escrow was created, engagement letters with the audit firm, email timestamps showing we had initiated the protective measures before his acceleration. Data doesn't have emotion, it just sits there and contradicts lies. They asked me a few questions. I answered calmly, precisely, using only what was already in the packet. No speeches, no gloating. Then something small happened that I'll never forget. As they read him his rights, my phone buzzed. A text from him. "We can fix this," it said. "Let's talk. Don't do this." The migraine I'd had for weeks, the background stress, the constant pressure, vanished in an instant. It was replaced by something sharper, clarity. We weren't fixing anything. He had built a machine designed to take my freedom, my career, and my name. The officers let him out. The handcuffs clicked. The world stopped again, like it had with that first bank alert tone. Only this time, I didn't freeze. I kept my voice level and addressed the board. "We have to protect the company," I said. "We will cooperate fully. I recommend establishing interim controls and adding a trustee-level oversight for finance until regulators are satisfied." After he was gone, there was a scramble. PR calls, investor calls, lawyer calls. I joined each one with the same demeanor, composed, factual, unflinching. Later, an investor told me, "You were surgical. Most founders melt down in a crisis. You documented, you prepared." The fallout wasn't pretty. We unwound his vendor shells. Under legal guidance, the escrowed funds were returned to the proper accounts. Insurance coverage triggered on the attempted fraud. Regulators were informed before they had to come asking. The company didn't collapse, it stabilized. And when the noise finally died down, I found myself in an empty office, walking past the rows of desks and monitors that had once felt like a shared dream. There's something no one tells you about betrayal. It has a smell. When trust rots, it lingers in the air. Old coffee, stale sweat, the faint plastic tang of shredded ID cards. I stood there and inhaled it one last time. Then I turned off the lights. Surviving a betrayal like that doesn't just change your policies, it changes your life's lock settings. I moved apartments, not because he could still reach me, his access was gone, his freedom limited, but because the walls remembered. Every room felt like a replay of late-night Slack pings and silent calculations. I changed more than my keys. I changed my boundaries. No more shared passwords for convenience. No more "trust me, I'll handle it" segments in the business. No more blind spots justified by friendship. Inside the company, I went to work on the real damage, not the missing money, the missing safeguards. We overhauled policies ruthlessly. Dual control on all approvals, not just big ones. Trustee oversight on major disbursements. Rotating admin keys with independent custodians. Mandatory vacations for anyone with financial access paired with surprise audits during their absence. We rebuilt our internal motto from "move fast" to "move clean." Then came the final attempt at emotional leverage. From jail, he requested a call. I got the notice. I sat with it for a day. Then I declined. Instead, I sent a certified letter. No anger, no apologies, just a clear, simple statement. All further communication should go through counsel. There would be no private closure, no secret truce, no last-minute rewrite of the story. Because here's the moral sting I learned. Betrayal is not a surface stain you wipe off. It's mold. Once it blooms, you don't just repaint the wall, you tear it out and rebuild with better material. Back at the office, life went on, slowly. One afternoon, a new hire knocked on my door, fresh out of school, sharp, still believing that startups were families. "Can I ask you something? Can you mentor me on how you handle approvals? I heard you're particular." I smiled. I taught her what I now call the 3 receipts rule. For every critical approval, keep 3 independent confirmations: system logs, human verification, and third-party validation. If any one of them can be forged alone, the decision waits. And one more thing, I told her. In real power situations, silence is a strategy. The loudest one in the room is almost never the safest. Quiet victory doesn't trend on social media, but it shows up in numbers. Quarter by quarter, our results stabilized. Churn dropped. Compliance flags went from high to routine. Investors not only stayed, they doubled down. I renegotiated my role. Smaller salary, bigger control. Not because I wanted more money, but because I understood something now. If you're going to be the one who designs the safeguards, you'd better also be the one who insists they never get bypassed for the sake of charm. One day, months later, I was cleaning out an old storage room when I found it, the plaque we had had made in our early days. Our company motto engraved like scripture. Trust is our greatest asset. It had a little knife-like stand, the kind you push into a desk. I looked at it for a long moment. Then I walked it over to the shred bin. Not because trust wasn't important, but because we treated it like a decorative slogan instead of a discipline. As I dropped it in, the metal edge scraped the plastic, a tiny final sound. The last knife retired. On my way back to my desk, my phone buzzed. The same bank alert tone. For a split second, my body remembered the old fear. Then I looked at the screen. Routine notification, funds reconciled, alert from a now triple-checked rule set I personally rebuilt. And for the first time since this began, I smiled. Because alarms don't scare me anymore. They warn me. So, that's how my co-founder tried to frame me for embezzlement, using my own systems, and how the exact controls I'd built, strengthened, mirrored, and documented became the evidence that cleared my name and exposed his plan. If you take anything from this story, let it be this. In business, trust without verification isn't loyalty, it's negligence. Don't wait for the bank alert moment to start behaving like a guardian of your own life and company. Put your controls in place while things are calm, so that when war comes, you're not scrambling, you're executing. Now I want to hear from you. At what point in this story would you have acted? The first duplicate invoice? The impossible timestamp? The lake house IP? Or would you have confronted him way earlier? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Tell me how you would have played it, and what safeguards you're putting in place in your own projects, teams, or companies. If this breakdown of strategy, betrayal, and countermoves resonated with you, hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. I've got more real stories coming, like the time an insurance hack someone thought was foolproof backfired so hard it triggered a full-blown investigation. You don't need drama in your life, but if it's coming anyway, you might as well be ready.